Near side is Drury in the middle. There's Tkachuk. Drury cutting to the net. Score! Tkachuk!
Brent Burns in his own zone. Slavin can't clear. Chance scores! Matthew Tkachuk puts it to bed, and Florida has won the opening game of the Eastern Conference Final.
Tkachuks leaves it for McKinnon. A pass across. Brady Tkachuk got there, and now he's off to the races. Brady Tkachuk, breakaway shoots, scores! Brady Tkachuk!
The recent battles between Canada and the USA at the Four Nations Faceoff were absolutely electric. And unsurprisingly, the Tkachuk brothers, aka the modern-day Bash Bros, were at the center of the action, getting into back-to-back fights right off the opening draw in the preliminary round matchup. Brady took center stage in the finals, playing over 19 minutes, during which he scored to tie the game late in the first period, and came within a miraculous save by Jordan Binnington of scoring the overtime winner, all while playing through a nagging injury. Matthew also tried to play through an injury, but his looks to be more serious, as it held him to just under 7 minutes of ice time. Despite his limited role in the final, his previous playoff success and impact during the rest of the Four Nations face-off have done more than enough to make him one of the faces of USA hockey. With Matthew and Brady's status as national icons established, I thought it would be fun to look back at the story of the Tkachuk family, who are some of the most interesting characters in hockey history. In the summer of 2024, the Stanley Cup returned to St. Louis for the first time since the Blues won it in 2019. But this time, it wasn't the home team that brought Lord Stanley home. Instead, it was Matthew Tkachuk of the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, who returned to his hometown for a celebratory visit. By his side were his father Keith, a Blues legend, and brother Brady, the captain of the Ottawa Senators. In my mind, pro sports moments are always better when families are involved. Just like we'll never forget the Tkachuk brothers' back-to-back fights, we'll always remember when Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. hit back-to-back home runs with the Seattle Mariners. And just look at all the coverage that LeBron James and Bronny are getting. Hockey is full of family connections, like father-son combos Brett and Bobby Hull, and Gordy, Mark, and Marty Howe, as well as brotherly combos like the Sedin twins, Maurice and Henri Richard, Pavel and Valerie Bure, the Sutter brothers, the Stahl brothers, and the Hughes brothers, just to name a few. These families have all had their share of iconic moments and are integral to hockey history. But it's hard to beat the outpouring of emotion from Keith and the rest of the Tkachuk family when Matthew achieved the ultimate goal and earned the honor of having the Tkachuk name engraved on the Stanley Cup. Our story begins with Keith Tkachuk, affectionately known as Big Walt, a nickname assigned to him by his teammate Eddie Olczyk, in reference to Walt Tkachuk, the center on the New York Rangers Bulldog line from 1967 to 1981. Big Walt grew up in Medford, Massachusetts, and played high school hockey at the nearby Malden Catholic High School, where he registered 42 goals and 72 points in 27 games. After committing to Boston University, Keith was selected 19th overall in the 1990 NHL entry draft by the Winnipeg Jets. He played at Boston University for the 1990-91 season, where he put up 17 goals and 40 points in 36 games. He also represented the United States at the 1991 World Juniors, registering 6 goals and 9 points in 7 games, with an American team that finished 4th. In 1991-92, Keith spent the majority of the season with the U.S. men's national team, where he registered 10 goals and 20 points in 45 games, while racking up 141 penalty minutes. Midway through the season, Keith traveled to Germany for the World Juniors, where he captained his country to a bronze medal, contributing 3 goals and 7 points in 7 games. A little over a month later, he traveled to France with the men's national team for the 1992 Olympics, where he recorded a goal and an assist in 8 games on an American team that lost in the bronze medal game to the Czechs. Continuing the whirlwind of events, Keith returned to North America and debuted with the Jets in Vancouver, recording an assist. He spent the rest of the season with the Jets, recording 3 goals and 8 points in 17 regular season games and 3 goals in 7 playoff games. The 1992-93 season was Keith's official rookie year. He finished 6th among rookies with 28 goals and 10th with 51 points, highlighted by a 12-game point streak. Keith was named the Jets captain the following season, a role he held for 2 seasons, during which he registered 63 goals, 132 points, and 407 penalty minutes in 132 games. But things started going south during the 1995 offseason. The Jets were in serious financial trouble and Keith was a restricted free agent. In a move that foreshadowed his oldest son's 2022 dispute with the Calgary Flames, Keith requested a trade and made it clear he wouldn't re-sign with Winnipeg under any circumstances. The Jets tried to work out a trade with several teams, but they couldn't get anything done. The Blackhawks persuaded Keith to sign a front-loaded 5-year offer sheet, but to the surprise of the hockey world, the Jets matched the offer sheet within 6 hours. That committed Tkachuk to Winnipeg for 6 more years, and the Jets promptly stripped him of the captaincy. But it wasn't all bad news, because it was during the 1995-96 season that Keith and his wife Chantel met on a blind date. He also played some elite hockey, recording 50 goals and 98 points in 76 regular season games, and a goal and 2 assists in the Jets' first-round playoff loss to the Red Wings. Game 6 was the Jets' final game in Winnipeg before relocating to Phoenix, and Keith led the Jets in a final skate around Winnipeg Arena to salute the fans. Upon arriving in Phoenix, Keith was reappointed captain for the 1996-97 season. Before the season kicked off, Keith played a pivotal role in the United States' victory at the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. Blazing a trail for his sons, Keith was a menace, recording 5 goals and 6 points in 7 games, and racking up a whopping 33 penalty minutes. He also had a great year with the Coyotes, finishing the season with 52 goals and 86 points in 81 games, along with 228 penalty minutes. The Coyotes made the playoffs, where they fell to the Mighty Ducks in 7 games, during which Keith scored 6 goals. On a personal note, Keith and Chantel got married in February of 1997, and Chantel gave birth to Matthew later that year in December. Despite dealing with injuries, Keith enjoyed 5 strong seasons with the Yotes, during which he played in 3 All-Star games and appeared on the cover of the video game NHL Breakaway 98. He also made his second Olympic appearance during his time with the Coyotes, recording 2 points in 4 games as the Americans fell to the Czechs in the quarterfinals. Keith was also at the center of Team USA's infamous hotel room trashing controversy. After losing the quarterfinals, Keith and 2 other teammates, suspected to be Tony Amonte and Jeremy Roenick, returned to the Olympic Village and took out their frustrations on their hotel room. Their transgressions included discharging a fire extinguisher and hurling it off their 5th-story balcony, breaking some chairs, and busting some holes in a wall. Captain Chris Chelios, who caused none of the damage, took responsibility on behalf of the team and mailed a note of apology and a $3,000 check from his own pocket to cover the damage. Brady was born a year and a half later, in September of 1999, before Keith's time with the Coyotes came to an end in the 2000-2001 season, when he was traded to the Blues in exchange for Ladislav Nagy, Michael Handzus, Jeff Taff, and a first-round pick. Big Walt made an immediate impact with the Blues, registering 9 points in 15 games during the Blues' run to the conference finals, where they fell to the Avalanche in 5 games. He was also outstanding in his first full season in St. Louis, leading the team in goals with 38 and finishing second in points with 75. In February of 2002, Keith represented his country at the Olympics for the 3rd time, scoring 2 goals in 5 games en route to a silver medal. The Blues made a bit of noise during the 2002 playoffs, defeating the Blackhawks in 5 games in the opening round, before falling to the Red Wings in 5 games in round 2, during which Keith registered 5 goals and 5 assists. Those first 2 seasons in St. Louis marked the most playoff success Keith would have in his career, and the only 2 times his team made it past the opening round. Chantel and Keith also welcomed their daughter Taryn while playing in St. Louis, who was born in November of 2002. Keith battled with injuries over his next 5 seasons with the Blues, but was still able to put up solid numbers. A low point came immediately following the 2004-2005 lockout, when the Blues suspended Keith for showing up to training camp overweight. It was tough for Keith at the time, but in retrospect, the incident is kind of hilarious and right on brand for Big Walt. He was able to get his fitness back on track, but played in just 41 games that season due to injury, during which he recorded 15 goals and 36 points. Despite his injuries and fitness issues, Keith was still able to lace up the skates for the 2006 Olympics, where he was held pointless for a USA team that struggled to an 8th place finish. At the following year's trade deadline, the Blues traded Keith to the Atlanta Thrashers, who were in the midst of a race to make the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Keith registered 7 goals and 15 points in 18 games to help them make the postseason, where they were swept by the Rangers in the opening round, during which Keith notched a goal and an assist. He returned to the Blues in the offseason, signing a 2-year deal worth $8 million. The Blues had missed the playoffs for 2 years in a row, and also signed Paul Kariya in an effort to become more competitive. Tkachuk and Kariya had individual success playing on a line with Brad Boyes, but the Blues missed the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row. The highlight of the season came in the Blues' final game, when Keith scored his 500th career goal in a game against the Blue Jackets, becoming the 4th American-born player to reach the milestone, following in the footsteps of Joe Mullen, Mike Modano, and Jeremy Roenick. Keith reached another major milestone the following season, recording his 1,000th career point in a game against the Thrashers. The Blues also returned to the playoffs, where they were swept by the Canucks. That offseason, Keith signed a 1-year extension with the Blues, recording 13 goals and 32 points in 67 games before announcing his retirement. Big Walt put up great numbers during his career, but his contributions to the game go beyond stats. He was consistently one of the elite power forwards of the era, and became a fan favorite for his physical and aggressive style of play. He racked up over 100 penalty minutes in 10 of his 19 seasons, including 3 seasons with over 200 PIMs. He scored 30 goals 8 times, including 2 40-goal seasons and back-to-back 50-goal seasons, including 1996-97 when he led the league in goals. Like I said, he never had the playoff success he wanted, making it out of the first round just twice, and never getting past the conference finals. But he was consistently a strong playoff performer, despite a lack of team success. When he hung up his skates in 2010, Tkachuk finished his career with 538 goals and 1,065 points in 1,201 regular season games, and 28 goals and 56 points in 89 playoff games. He's one of the greatest American hockey players of all time, ranking 3rd in goals behind only Brett Hull and Mike Modano, 7th in points, and 4th in penalty minutes behind only Chris Nyland, Chris Chelios, and Donald Brashear. But despite all that, he continues to be snubbed by the Hockey Hall of Fame. After their antics against Canada in the preliminary round, Keith Tkachuk called his sons lunatics, just like him. The boys' shenanigans were reminiscent of Keith's performance at the 1996 World Cup, where he fought Claude Lemieux 20 seconds into a round-robin game against Canada. Keith finished that tournament with 5 goals and an assist in 5 games, and just like their father, Matthew and Brady racked up their fair share of points along with their penalty minutes. Matthew finished the tournament with 2 goals and an assist in 3 games, after sitting out a meaningless preliminary round game against Sweden, and his injury held him to under 7 minutes of ice time in the finals. And Brady finished the tournament with 3 goals in 3 games, plus a couple minutes, as his injury limited him to under 2 minutes in the game against Sweden. It's no surprise the Tkachuk brothers have a lot in common with their dad, since they grew up hanging out with Keith and his teammates in NHL locker rooms. They also spent a lot of time with their dad off the ice, where they soaked up Keith's larger-than-life personality. Like their dad, they're not afraid to let loose and let their personalities shine through. As Keith put it, they're not boring like a lot of guys in the NHL, I'll tell you that much. Fans loved it when a video of Brady singing Mr. Brightside at the bar emerged. And he became a folk hero in Calgary during his brother's playoff run with the Flames. Matthew, on the other hand, almost single-handedly revived the Battle of Alberta during his time with the Flames, and also started a rivalry with the Kings with a questionable hit on Drew Doughty. In Florida, he's been elite, leading the Panthers on an unexpected run to the finals in 2023, during which he played with a cracked sternum. And Brady was right there helping him deal with it, hoisting Matthew out of bed and helping him get dressed, which took 15 minutes as Matthew fought through the pain. After losing in 5 games in 2023, Tkachuk told his teammates they'd get back to the finals, and he was right, as he helped them win the Stanley Cup the following season. It was an incredible moment for the Tkachuk family, from Walt to the kids to Chantel. And after decades as one of the most interesting families in hockey, it was a moment they deserved. Brady hasn't played a playoff game, but Keith and Matthew have both said he's built for it, and it's only a matter of time until the Senators captain, who's still just 25 years old, leads the Sens back to the playoffs, possibly as soon as this spring. The Four Nations tournament gave Brady his first opportunity to be in a playoff-like game, and he confirmed what everyone expected. He's built for it. The Tkachuks hockey family tree extends beyond their father, as Big Walt is cousins with former NHL player and current Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald, as well as Kevin and Jimmy Hayes. and Chantel's brother is agent Craig Oster, who represents several NHL players, including Erik Karlsson and Mark Stone. Their sister Taryn is also an elite hockey player, albeit of a different variety, as she starred for the University of Virginia's field hockey team for 4 years. So it's safe to say the Tkachuk siblings have hockey running through their veins, and were destined to play hockey at a high level since the day they were born. Matthew and Brady literally grew up at the rink, spending time in the Coyotes locker room as infants, where their mom Chantel would leave them in the care of equipment manager Stan Wilson while she ran errands. When Matthew and Brady started moving around, Keith says they terrorized the place, making a mess for Stan and the other support staff. Even as a toddler, Matthew's favorite activity was watching practice from the player's bench, where he was equipped with a helmet and pads to keep him safe from flying pucks. Matthew was 3.5 when Keith was traded to St. Louis, and Brady wasn't quite 2, so they don't really remember their time in Phoenix, but it sparked their passion for hockey. They made their core childhood memories in St. Louis, where Keith had the boys around the team as much as possible, even pulling them out of school to take them to the rink for practices and morning skates. The boys were fixtures around the Blues locker room, and traveled to watch their dad play in multiple All-Star games, where they got to hang out with the legends of the game. The Tkachuk family also opened their home to young players breaking into the league, with David Backes, Lee Stempniak, and Philip McRae all living with the family at different times during their careers. Matthew and Brady got to see how hard the young guys worked and the attitude it took to make it to the show. And those lessons obviously paid off, as they both become elite players, maintaining their father's old school brand of hockey while adhering to the intensive training regime of the modern NHL player. Most of you know the journey Matthew and Brady took to become 2 of the most famous players in American hockey, but you might not know all the details, so I'll run them back for you. We'll start with Matthew, who played his minor hockey for a youth affiliate of the Blues alongside Clayton Keller, Logan Brown, and Luke Cunnin. All 4 were recognized as elite players at a young age, and played together at the 2010 Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament. Matthew attended junior high at Chaminade Prep School, alongside NBA superstar Jason Tatum. By the time he finished middle school, Matthew was ready for bigger things and moved to Michigan to join the National Development Program in Ann Arbor. He spent 2 seasons with the National Development Program, playing for the U17 team in his first year and the U18 team in his second year. During his time there, he spent time on a line with top prospects Austin Matthews and Jack Roslovic. After that, he joined the London Knights of the OHL. His 1 season of junior boosted his draft profile. Playing on a line with Mitch Marner and Christian Dvorak, Matthew finished 5th in OHL scoring, registering 20 goals and 107 points in 57 games. He also put up 40 points in 18 playoff games, and scored the overtime winner in the 2016 Memorial Cup Final. He also performed well at the 2016 World Juniors, where he tied Austin Matthews for the team lead with 11 points to help the United States win a bronze medal. Matthew was selected 6th overall by the Calgary Flames at the 2016 NHL Draft, and the Sea of Red was hyped. He more than lived up to the hype, jumping right into the NHL and scoring his first NHL goal in dramatic fashion, tying the game in a Flames comeback overtime victory. It also didn't take long for Matthew to earn his reputation as a rat, beginning when he popped Drew Doughty in the head. After Matthews' entry-level deal expired, the Flames could have locked him up for the long term. But GM Brad Treliving opted to ink him to a 3-year bridge deal, which turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes in recent franchise history. Matthews' breakout offensive season came in 2021-22, the final year of his bridge deal. He surpassed his father's highest single season point total of 98 and became the 2nd player from the 2016 draft to score 100 points in a single season, finishing the year with 42 goals and 104 points. The Flames also had one of the most successful regular seasons in their history, with Matthew being an integral part of that success. He spent most of the season playing on the right wing with Elias Lindholm and Johnny Gaudreau. The trio formed one of the most dominant lines in recent NHL history, with all 3 members hitting milestones during the season, while helping the Flames to a Pacific Division title. Calgary drew the Stars in the opening round of the 2022 playoffs, a matchup in which the Flames were considered the favorites. The series was closer than expected, in large part to Stars goalie Jake Ottinger, but the Flames eventually won in overtime of Game 7. Shout out to Matthew's buddy Johnny Hockey. The Flames drew the Oilers in round 2, setting up the first playoff battle of Alberta in 31 years. Matthew played well and made his presence felt, but the Flames fell in 5 games. After the season, Gaudreau left the Flames in free agency to sign with the Blue Jackets. Matthew's future with the team was also subject to speculation, with many believing he intended to leave. The rumors were true, and days after Gaudreau's departure, it was confirmed that Matthew told the Flames he wasn't going to sign a long-term deal. On July 22, 2022, Matthew was traded to the Panthers along with a conditional 4th-round draft pick in 2025 in exchange for Jonathan Huberdeau, Cole Schwindt, Mackenzie Weegar, and a lottery-protected 1st-round pick in 2025. Before the trade went through, Matthew committed to South Florida for the long haul, signing an 8-year, $76 million contract. He proceeded to have the most productive season of his career, hitting career highs in assists with 69, points with 109, and penalty minutes with 123. And he was even better in the playoffs, registering 11 goals, 24 points, and 74 penalty minutes in 20 games, helping the Panthers reach the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 1996. He was named an alternate captain the next year and helped lead them back to the finals, where they defeated the Oilers to win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Two years younger than Matthew, Brady took a slightly different path to stardom. Like his brother, he played his minor hockey in St. Louis and spent 2 seasons with the National Development Program. But instead of heading to the CHL like Matthew, he followed in his father's footsteps, attending Boston University in his draft year, where he recorded 8 goals and 31 points in 40 games. He also played in the 2018 World Juniors, where he recorded 3 goals and 9 points in 7 games and won a bronze medal. After being drafted 4th overall by the Senators in 2018, Brady jumped straight into the NHL, recording 22 goals and 45 points in 71 games in his rookie year. He quickly established himself as a fan favorite and was named an alternate captain in 2020-21. Unlike his dad and brother, who both asked out of Canadian markets, Brady showed his commitment to Ottawa, where he signed a 7-year, $57.5 million contract with the Sens at the start of the 2021-22 season. A month later, he was named the 10th captain in Sens history. The Senators haven't had a lot of team success, but Brady's getting better year over year, reaching a career high in points with 83 in 2022-23, and hitting career highs in goals with 37 and penalty minutes with 134 in 2023-24. So far this season, Brady is leading the Sens with 21 goals in 56 games, and already has over 100 penalty minutes. If casual hockey fans didn't know much about his game before, they certainly do now, thanks to his iconic performance at the Four Nations Faceoff. After seeing Matthew's playoff success, Brady is hungry to experience postseason hockey and eventually hoist the cup. And if he reaches the pinnacle, he's vowed to make his own summer with Lord Stanley even more legendary than his brothers. Tkachuk Sr. and his boys are more than their numbers. They're shining examples of what makes hockey exciting and how the game should be played. Together, they've played over 2,300 games, scored 961 goals, and recorded 2,904 points. Keith should be a Hall of Famer, and Matthew and Brady have a good chance of reaching that level too. Let me know your favorite Tkachuk family memory in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider joining this growing community of hockey history enthusiasts by subscribing. That's all for today. We'll see you in the next video.